Yes. Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, how is everybody?
Slightly stressed out.
Okay.
Alive.
Alive. All right. We literally have 2 lectures left. So
Including this
tonight and next week.
Okay.
Then we are done.
Yeah,
So,
that's fine, yeah.
just to say, I owe you all a very big apology. I'm so close to finish the marking, but like I said, I was just out of it this weekend after a week in Cape Town, that I did not plan for. So next week when I see you, you'll have all your marks, and I'll bring bribery gifts for your compassion for tonight.
That sounds good.
Oh wait, that's recorded. Then I'm forgiven. So I do apologize for that. However, I do have the final assignment ready, and I'm going to hand that out at the end. And then here is our little Christopher's bag because of a lack of a hat. Maybe we can borrow your hat.
That's right.
And everyone can draw the name of a publisher from my lovely
Now on
red silk bag, organza bag. And that is the publishing company that you will be using for your final assignment. Colleen has signed off on the assignment, and she is quite impressed. So I think it is challenging, but it's not doable. Okay. All right. So what I wanted us to look at tonight is the whole idea around content marketing, and specifically what we do in terms of creating good content for social media campaigns. Okay, so in content marketing, we talk about an editorial calendar for your social media. Oopsie daisy, there goes the power. Sorry, this is my daughter. Can I just quickly answer? Hello? Nicola? Excuse me, mama's not bezig met klas te gee. You're just the weather. Okay, Scarlett, bye. Sorry, she has permission not to go to Karachi because it's the last day of holidays. So, that's very urgent. Okay, so first of all, tell me, especially those of you who are working already in publishing, do you know if the publishing companies that you work for have a social media content calendar?
Yeah,
No.
we do.
Do they?
I've seen that.
Okay, so what does it look like?
The one I saw, they use the spreadsheet thingy, like on this date post this, on that date post that, read
That's
this,
right.
whatever.
That's
yeah.
right. And why do you think they do it? Why do you think it's important to have a content calendar for social media? And the reality is, it's interesting that the editorial content calendars are now being used beyond social media for any other form of content dissemination. So even whether you do email marketing, direct email marketing, they'll put that in here as well. Okay, so we'll look at the format and the structure now. Okay, so what I want to do is I first of all want to show you what a social media policy can look like for a company. Do you know if Jonathan Ball has a social media?
I haven't checked, we have a lot of policies under Media 24. So
Yes. So there are, well, let me just get it. Sorry, it was open and then the idiot in me closed it. There are 2 types of social media policies. On the one hand, you can have something that is your employee policy. So that's a corporate social media policy that actually says what employees should be doing, how employees are allowed to engage with the brand externally to the company. Okay. In other words, you're not allowed to post in simple matters on Facebook, I hate my boss. That's the simplest example of a social media policy. Or you're not allowed to post the release date of a publication if the sales and marketing team haven't signed off on that yet. So not divulging company information. So that's a corporate social policy, okay? And it's very much how employees are supposed to act online in relation to the brand. All of that creates a lot of discussion among the HR teams because they say employees are not the company is not their employees, and those two things should be separate. So yes, clearly your social media pages are your social media pages, and what you do on that is your business. But the moment that you divulge company-related information, that does become a problem. Okay, so that's the corporate kind of policy. What I want us to look at, let me just see if this is the final one. I know you'll all keep this to yourself if I show it to you. And it's in Afrikaans, and I'll translate for us. I just want to show you what it can look like. So this is something we did last year, for example, for LAPA. Please don't tell them I showed it to you. I know you'll use your discretion. So what we did with this social media policy, and you can see it's only 4 pages long. What happened in LAPA is that they had various different imprints, okay? So they have the Romanza imprints, which is the love stories. Then they have cookbooks, they have fiction, they have non-fiction, and they've got a very strong children's publishing list. And initially, each of these publishing departments or lists was headed up by a different publisher, and each publisher and their publishing assistant would create their own channel of communication to their consumers and create their own type of brand experience. Now I'm sure you can see how problematic that is. If you think about what we talked about last week, about the omni-channel brand experience, having different imprints that actually have the same brand values. That is what we did after a whole analysis with the team, but everybody has their own method of communication. So the point of the social media strategy was to say, when we do content marketing, it is administered from a central point, okay? So the marketing team never had any control over social media. Does that make sense? No, not much. Eh? So the publisher did it, which is fine because the publisher has a lot of product knowledge. But the marketing team and the sales team has a different kind of knowledge about the market. So we wrote this to say, if and when there is to be communicated externally with the market, what should that communication look like? They were concerned about the tone of voice that was communicated via social media. So how do we speak to our customers? They were concerned about which channels, so tone of voice is the first thing that you address. Okay. When you write a social media or a content policy for social media. So tone of voice is very important. How do we speak to our customers? In a certain sense, you can almost say it is the personality of the brand. And how do we communicate that personality? Then you want to look at the channels that you deploy. And channels are important because what we did after thorough analysis with the company is that some people use Twitter, some people use Facebook, some people use Instagram. So everybody used different channels. Okay. Hi. No, come here, sit lovely. So everybody used different channels when they communicated. That can't work because your brand experience is not the same. So they would have the love story team communicate over Facebook and the children's book team, but it's not the same channel. What that results in is that there's no opportunity for upselling. Because who reads love stories? The moms, hopefully, and maybe the grandmas, maybe the dads, I don't know. But they might have children for whom they can buy children's books. Or they might want recipe books. So there was no opportunity for the brands to upsell and cross-sell with each other because there was no single voice. So the channels was very important. And channels are important because companies tend to think, I have to be on every single social media platform. You don't. You can actually just be on one, but then do that one really well. If you think about the presentation we had from Talita from Penguin. Did you see how well they did Facebook? They did Twitter as well and Instagram, but Facebook was clearly their strongest. And what she does so well for their social media is she's not necessarily posting more, she's posting the right message. Okay, remember first lecture in sales and marketing, we said the right content at the right time to the right audience in the right channel in the right format. Okay, so that is what that translates exactly over to your content marketing. Then after looking at the channels, you have to look at the team who does this. So who's the team who's actually going to be running with this? Because it's great to have publishers' input into the social media strategy from a marketing perspective, but they can't drive it. They're not the drivers of the marketing forces. Okay, so who in the team is responsible for what? And in publishing, you might find that team members for social media are external to the company. And the reason I say that is publishing companies have very tight budgets and core staff. So very often designers are external. And what is the process flow of getting content with a designer? Why is a designer important in social media?
Social media is visual.
Yeah. So it's fine to post something, but if you post a competition, ideally you want a picture to go with that, with the cover of the book and the closing date, etc., etc. So the design has become an integral part of your team. Once you've looked at the team, you actually look at the production schedule for social media. There is a production schedule.
For your product or the content?
The content.
Oh, wow.
Because remember, if you go every day and say, ooh, what are we going to post today? There's no point. It's not even going to hit the mark. Okay? So you want to have a schedule that says, A, what do we like to publish in terms of content on social media? By when should that be published? And who should take responsibility for it? Okay. So this is just a schedule to say when should what happen. Because in a publishing company, you still want input from the publisher. Why? The person, the publishing person.
They have all the knowledge.
They have the product knowledge. Okay? You have, in sales and marketing, you have the market knowledge. So you do need the publisher as a person's input, because they know the author and they know when the author will be available. But it's important to schedule what you need from a publisher so that they can schedule with the author what they need from them. Otherwise it's all going to be last minute. Okay. And then, once we know what we publish and when we publish it, then we actually start looking at the content of what we publish. Okay. Mr. Cool, talk to me. I can see you're frowning.
No, I don't know, this may sound a bit obvious, but it seems like publishers are always publishing.
Of course.
Oh.
You know what? I actually have a wonderful, wonderful quote I wanted to show you. I came across it. Social media is a contact sport. Isn't that just the best quote ever? Hey? Social media is a contact sport. It's literally being where your customers are. But publishers are more busy with content than ever before,
Right, yeah.
because technology is so ingrained in how we are and exist as humans. And technology makes the dissemination of information, i.e. content, so much easier. So if you think about it, back to the first lecture we had, some publishers see this as a threat, and they say, I don't know how to restructure my business and my business model and the way I do business and the way I make money to fit in with this larger picture.
Right.
They see it as a threat. Or you see it as an opportunity to say there are more channels and mediums available to me. Yes?
Do you think there will come a point when the product publisher is just content. It's
Yes, definitely. Maybe not in the next 10 years. Maybe when Star Wars Jedi returns. But there is a point where we have to look beyond the medium.
Right.
Because at the moment our business model is based on a medium. A physical book or a digital book. And we see content as a tool to market.
As opposed to the content as a product.
Exactly. Because content can be a service as well. Wilson, for your masters, we made a lovely suggestion for him that in publishing, we've always been busy with product innovation. We've always said we went from hardback to paperback to a smaller format paperback to digital. And we think we're mushy innovative. But we've innovated format, so the product. But when do we start thinking about content as a service and not as a product? And what? Give me an example.
Content as a service.
Yeah. That you can make money from.
Well, designers produce, I guess, content. They offer a
Yeah.
service.
Think about a publishing list. Think about a typical publishing list. How do we turn that publishing list not into products, but into services?
Would it not be more in terms of kind of textbook publishing?
In terms of?
Textbook publishing, so that becomes.
Yeah,
I would
was thinking
say-
that, yeah.
I would say maybe, but trade publishing as well.
Self-publishing services where you
Maybe.
hire out the different departments.
So we need another lecture on digital interaction. Maybe next week. Let's take a simple example, like recipe books. When have you last bought a recipe book? Hey?
Ever bought a recipe?
Never. When last? Okay, you're the enigma. When last have you cooked from a recipe?
Like a week ago?
When I was.
A week ago. And where did you find that recipe?
Online.
Online. And was it a publisher who gave it to you?
That was a blog.
It was a blog.
Food 24.
So now, a trade publisher who has an extensive recipe backlist with recipe books sits on all this content and is, dare I use the word bitching, because the title's not selling. Because how are consumers consuming content? When last did I have 3 recipe books and they're like handed over from generation to generation, like those ones your grandma wrote. Those are the ones we keep, those are the ones we open up. Some people who have a fetish for cookbooks, who lick the pictures and think it's beautiful, they will buy the recipe books. And so the product is paper is becoming a niche product.
Right.
Paper is becoming the product we can up the price and sell at a lekker fit price because there is a small amount of people who want a full color, beautiful recipe book. So let's give it to them at a niche price. But what do we do with the rest of the population who needs a recipe but is not buying a recipe
It's
book?
like the iTunes thing. So you can have a subscription and then.
Get all the
So
top
that is
chefs'
the
recipes.
moment content becomes a service and not a product.
What's the iTunes thing?
Okay?
So like you can go on iTunes and buy one song instead of the whole album. So you can go onto publishers'
Micro
website.
content.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a concept of creating a community,
Yes.
like Amazon Prime.
Yes. So now people will say, oh, but who's going to buy a single recipe? Well, no one's going to buy one recipe, but they might buy a subscription service to have 15 recipes a month. Or they might buy a subscription service to have 20 recipes for each of the working days of the month because I'm a working mommy who has little time. And if I buy those recipes, please also make sure that the app gives me a shopping list on a Saturday before the week starts. That's a service. Because who has the content for the shopping list? The publishers, it's in the book. 1 cup rice, 1 cup broccoli, 1 cup chicken.
So the publishers Like their real product is content.
Yeah. It's never
not,
been
not
books.
Wow. That's really
Just
wild.
imagine in a complete matrix world, if the printed format never existed, how else would we disseminate information? What would happen? What happens if we have, if we reach a point where we only have like sharing of information through like neurological channels? You can't buy content anymore, it has to be shared with humans and humans become the commodity. I'm giving you like a complete
Right.
wrong picture, but the point is we as publishers think of a product and we sell product and we put products into a catalog. And we want to sell units of a product. We've not moved to a point where we think of content, which is what we do. That's what we do. We
Yeah.
create content
Yeah.
for whatever purpose, whether it's entertainment or to learn or to cook or to whatever. We create content for something to be done, the action of something to be done. I want to be entertained. I want to cook. I want to pass economics 1. I want to learn geography grade 10. That's what I need to get done. That's the job. But we've never re-innovated how we produce, what can we do to make that job get done easier?
So for iTunes and for recipe books, it makes sense that you can sell it like one by one or subscription. How would you do that with like novels?
Novels.
Or-
Yeah.
Serialization.
What do you mean?
So like buying chapters seems dumb because if you want the next chapter.
When
it's
did
simple.
serialization start?
Yeah.
No, but you don't need to buy chapters, you can buy
You can buy chapters. You can just remember the video we watched with Kevin Spacey,
Right.
where he said we have to let consumers decide whether they want to binge entire book in 15 minutes or whether they want a chapter a night.
I would kill someone if they try to sell me a
Yeah.
chapter.
I'd break down the front door.
That's you. Maybe someone who's not read for 3 years, who's reluctant to buy a full book because of the dread of it lying there and thinking, shit, I'm not reading, is the ideal type of consumer that we profile to buy a subscription for a chapter a day.
So how would that
Just
work?
want to ask you when to pick it up.
I mean, it just makes me think of something like Pigeonhole, that's UK-based, I don't know what they call themselves, publishers, but they basically, it is a chapter a day that you get. And
That's
I mean,
right.
As someone who, I mean, at the time that I got it, I was reading quite a lot, but just knowing that it's kind of like a motivation, even no matter kind of what level you are reading, it's a motivation to.
Okay, sorry, you want to ask?
I mean, how would that look? Would it look like, would the book be broken down into magazines or
It could be broken
digital
into
content?
magazines.
Like, how would it look? Like,
Remember what is in this new digital world, we have to, and I understand why you're saying it can work well in tertiary or in schools. Because if we had to break this down into its smallest useful bit of information, this is quite easy, okay? We can say there is 4 parts, 13 chapters. Within each chapter there is a subheading. So let's say something like an advertorial, the piece on advertorial, that is a useful definition. The glossary at the end is quite a nice product that we're selling as part of this, but maybe there's publishing students worldwide who just want the glossary. You see how publishers are not, dare I use the
I
word,
see what you mean.
exploiting.
Yeah. Like
Content.
fully. Yeah. I get it.
We have massive author contracts that say we will exploit the content. Really? I know I'm playing devil's advocate, but that's what I do. Because I think that publishers need to look at this differently. And then they say, but it's so expensive to do these kind of formats. Really? You have a PDF version of the glossary. You have PDF versions of all your textbooks. What would happen if you created a massive glossary of academic terms, let's say you're a textbook publisher, of academic terms, where students can subscribe to, like an app, for example, they download the app, let's say the app costs them 25 Rand. And you've got in there social sciences, economic and business sciences, and let's say natural sciences. And I've got all my glossary terms in Afrikaans, English, and 4 African languages. So when I study, and I'm not a first English language speaker, and I see the word envelope, and I'm not sure what it means, and I can go onto the app and read envelope in my home language. And then publishers say, but it's so expensive to create apps. It's becoming cheaper and cheaper and cheaper by the day. You don't even have to have an app, you just have to have a mobile-friendly website, which costs nothing if you do it through Wix. And then companies come and say, but you know, you can't do Wix because it's not secure and data and privacy and all of that. Publishers always have a reason not to do something. There's always red tape, there's always a reason not to do it. I'm turning you into minions of the future. Do you agree with me, or do you think I've lost my mind?
Completely agree.
I can see it for like education and I can see it for
Yeah, but
research,
trade,
but I can't see it
more
for like
fiction.
novel. Yeah.
Okay.
But you
So-
see, I think you're still dwelling on the content.
No, I'm dwelling on the fact that I would honestly notice someone if I was reading a book and I had one chapter and it's like
Okay?
peak of the book and now I stop reading until tomorrow when I
But that's,
I think it's
but that's
so
just an
different.
example.
That's an example. That's
That's an
one
example.
thing we could do.
For reluctant readers, or you could do a book a week for people who read a book a week.
That's
And
right.
they have different costs. I mean, a chapter a day would be substantially cheaper because you're only going to buy one book in like a month.
Oh, this is such
But
a good
a book a week
presentation.
would cost
Wow.
more. But if you read
Okay,
a lot, then that
Let me
works.
quickly ask, who has heard of, so that's fine. I understand for breaking down content, it's great for learning, okay? Because that's how we learn. We deduct to the lowest point, and then we build up our knowledge again, okay? What can we do in trade? I do believe we can serialize, because not every reader is a
Yeah, I
book
was
reader.
gonna ask, what is serialization?
So that means to break it down as either chapters. And remember, Charles Dickens' novel was the first one to be serialized. How? Published in a newspaper.
Ah.
We don't need a newspaper anymore. Yeah. Oh my goodness, my computer. So serialization worked very well because that was the medium that there was. There was newspapers. Because printing at that point, the printing press was quite expensive. So to own a book really made you a very rich person because books were expensive, because the process was expensive. So to disseminate their content, a lot of authors kind of went the cheap route and succumbed to getting published as a serial in a newspaper. And then printing got cheaper, and more authors could publish books, and more people could own books. The same thing's happening with technology. So at the start of tech, it was extremely expensive to own the tech to read content. If you own the content, very few people were able to publish there, so everyone has continued on the kind of print format here. Tech is becoming cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. We see blogs, we see platforms to create websites like Wix and WordPress. It's becoming cheaper to own the technology. In fact, you don't even have to own the technology. You can teach yourself a skill to do it yourself. And so more and more people are going to start moving their content onto technology. Okay.
As a matter of fact, you'll be forced to do it. Because if you look at the rate of growth of information, it's exponential. The time is coming when you won't have time any longer to read the number of books you want to read.
I'm not ready there.
So what's happening, the serialization she's talking about, it will no longer be printed.
Yes.
It will be an audiobook that
Oh,
should be
don't say
streamed.
that.
I still like books, yeah.
Yeah,
If you
I
take
hate
away
books.
books, I cry.
No, but you see, I'm going to ruin now your thinking format. You're not thinking content.
Yes.
To me, it's
Yeah,
an
but
entire experience. No, I get that. But there
But
is
you want to dictate the experience to consumers.
no.
You're saying, for me, it's an experience. So now let's say you're a publisher like the Harvard Business Review. Harvard Business Review realized very quickly when they did consumer profiles that they are publishing for a market that is always in a hurry. And they realized that the magazine that they were publishing with articles was too thick and people weren't consuming the content. That's when they moved into online content, so you can buy articles one by one or buy a subscription. And then they went back to traditional publishing. What did they do? Do you remember a little word called a monograph?
Yeah.
What is a monograph? A small 50-page book on one topic. Monographs were the start of scientific publishing in the 1800s. And then we stopped doing monographs because everybody wanted a book. Now we're back to monographs. So if you go to exclusive books, you can find Harvard Business Review monographs, 10 of them. And what's nice is on the cover it tells you 3-minute read. Because they know their market. They know their market is in a hurry. Yes, there is an experience. I also love the book experience. But in a digital world, in any world, we cannot dictate what we think our consumers want. Because we enjoy it. Another good example are romance books. Where are they being read most? Online, in digital format. Why? It's a basic consumer thing that no one recognized for 50 years while Moors and Boons was
You don't want to
making
be
millions.
walking around with the Moors and Boons book.
I don't want anybody to see me walking around.
Yeah.
How many people read 50 Shades of Grey in another book? Because they don't want anybody to see me reading 50 Shades of Grey. Because we thought this is the format, we'll give it to our customers like that. But we never made sense of the underlying desire, excuse the pun, to read romance novels. That was to get excited at whatever level. And it was something that I tended to be ashamed of. So I had to put my Moors and Boons in my bag and, kind of on the bus or on the train or wherever, be like this. Now I've got an e-book reader. I've got 5,000 Moors and Boons on there and you can think I'm reading whatever. I don't care. They changed the format, yes, because it's now e-books. But suddenly they realized they're addressing a completely different consumer need that they've never seen before. And now that market is growing exponentially. Moors and Boons is making more money than anything. It's the biggest publishing list for love. It's romance novels. Not highbrow literature, I'm afraid, my minions, but sloppy, kiss me now or lose me. So we have to be careful to want to dictate. So for trade, I do believe serialization has a good opportunity. Online lending services. Who's heard of 24 Symbols? Okay, so 24symbols.com. I want to read without limits. So this is an online library for books. They've got about 800,000 books. Okay, there's an app as well. They have agreements with publishers to supply them with books. And how it works is they've built in a piece of code that you read the book, so you download it onto your account and you pay like a library lending service. I'm going to finish this in 2 weeks, 6 weeks, 3 months. And if you've not finished it by that time, by the time that end date comes, let's say you've chosen 2 weeks, 6 weeks or 3 months and you pay accordingly. So the longer you want it, the more you pay. Then that file goes and falls to ashes on your Kindle. Is that a product or a service? It's a service. Yes, it's still books in a digital format. But what have they been able to do? They've been able to say, people don't necessarily want to own books. We all want to own books. We're publishing students, for goodness sake. So we have to get out of this thinking. Yes, I also love my 15 million books about. When the flood came, I forgot my daughter and saved my books. Okay, that is the type of people we are. Because other people don't necessarily want to own books. They just want to read them. And when they finish reading them, they don't want the hassle of having to go to the library to return them, or having to store them, or having to give them away. So they started an online lending service. And this is trade books. It's Lekker Leesboeke. So it's a service, it's a type of service. Am I making sense? I felt this was kind of an important topic to discuss. So much for a content calendar tonight. Does anybody want to disagree with me? Yes, please, Jean.
No.
No, you really
No, I
can.
get what you're saying, that for us, we're here because we enjoy books, and we like owning them. But, like, even in my family, it's obvious, but some people just don't.
Yeah.
They want, like my aunt, like she'll watch a movie, but fast forward certain bits that she wants to watch.
Exactly.
She'll do that. So,
That's exactly that. That's basic video. We can't say how people want to consume media.
I've forgotten the name of the website, but there is another platform that does like book summaries. They do like 5-minute books. Where
Yeah.
they take books and they literally do like an audio file, but like 5 minutes long. That tells you everything you need to know about them. And they do it for like entrepreneurial books and business books and stuff that you want to read and you know you should read, but you just don't have time to read. And I think that's actually quite a clever, like,
Very
business.
nice.
So is the audience for the traditional format of the book shrinking, do you think? Or?
In fact, I think it's growing.
Okay.
The reason being is what happened in publishing is we saw print, and then there's this EPUB 3, EPUB 2, EPUB 3, digital books, and publishers went and converted all their backlist to digital books, and people were reading ebooks, and then they realized, the novelty's over, and they went back to print. We never innovated on that medium. We've not innovated on digital. It's basically print behind glass for most books. So the novelty has worn off for digital books.
But then do you think that the people who, like us, want to own it, want to have it forever, we're becoming a niche?
Definitely. That's what I'm saying. Print's going to become a niche. Because you're going to have a larger portion of the market that's willing to consume digital if they get value out of what they purchase. And as marketers, we have to establish what is the value they're getting. Is that value in the format, in the service, in the adjacent products or services to that? And it's part of your final assignment. Alison Braverstock talks about the core benefit of a product, which enables you to write. So it's that why are we doing this? The core benefit, the actual benefit, and the augmented benefit. So if you think about a novel as a digital format, what is the core benefit of that?
Convenience.
Convenience. So I will keep buying ebooks, think like a consumer now, because I can own 5,000 and carry it with me on holiday. So then my marketing strategy as the digital head of a company should be convenience. That's one strategy, absolutely. What would be the, I've forgotten the terms. Wait. What would be the actual benefit?
Reading on your phone. Reading on
Reading.
your device.
For, think about a trade title. Why am I reading it?
Pleasure.
Pleasure or entertainment. Okay? What is the augmented benefit of a digital book?
Being able to do this very conveniently on your phone.
Okay. And perhaps own more than one, download more than one, so it relates to that convenience thing. Okay. So as a publisher, we have to think beyond format, and we have to innovate at different levels. We could do a whole lecture on innovation, but maybe we can get Wilson to do it for us. Yes,
Considering
Lewis.
that, I guess, the publisher's maybe true product is content.
Definitely.
Like, there's so many other businesses or industries in the content creation game. So how does the publisher compete,
Yes!
you know?
How do we compete for that? We could compete with eyeballs.
Right.
We're competing with people who look at screens. I want to show you this, and I'll send you this link after class. So this is a very nice blog on editorial content calendars and social media and content marketing and all of that. And so they have here the content calendar of leading brands. Again, who's the leading brand for publishing? Red Bull is a publishing company
Yeah.
that just happens to sell an energy drink.
So who's not publishing now? You know, like.
Everyone.
Yeah, so what is the advantage that we have as
Everyone.
publishers?
So what is the advantage? What do we bring to the table that other brands don't?
Industry knowledge, links to bookstores, links to Amazon, whatever platform you sell. The ability to get it through the project's
Content curation.
Yeah.
I would say that above that. Because in a digital world, I don't need a retailer.
But you don't need a retailer, but it makes it a lot more convenient. So for those
Not
authors
really.
who choose,
If I'm an author and I've got a book on fly fishing, I can sell that book in 2 minutes on a Facebook store.
yeah. But so I don't know what it was. It was something for our last assignment that I read, and it said there are some authors who prefer to focus mainly on the writing. They don't like to do the back stuff,
That's
the
right.
publishing, the marketing,
That's
all
right.
that nonsense. So for a big advantage for publishers
It's
is
sales
that
and marketing.
yes,
Yeah.
is that they
I
can take
agree.
control of that.
Getting published is still a very romantic notion with everybody in the whole world. In any first world developed, call it what you will, society, the concept of getting published is quite romantic. I'm getting published. I have a publisher. This is my publisher. I have found a publisher. I am an author. But are we willing to bet our future as an industry on the notion of romanticism?
No way.
Yeah, true.
Wilson?
Okay, I think until we're gonna disabuse our minds of content, content is still important. But if you take the Red Bull experience, Red Bull don't go out to create content. They go out to create experience. And the experiences generate content.
Whoa.
And whilst they are creating the experience, they create community.
Shit.
That's
So-
true.
So that's how they make their money. So you don't have to worry about content. The content will follow if you do the two things. If you create experiences and if you create community. So what we are
Okay.
talking about here is just the beginning. But the end purpose is to create communities and experiences.
Michelle's very unhappy with us.
No, she's not. She just wants to understand. So then, what is content curation? Like,
It's when I'm writing an assignment and I'm sick of Googling the same thing 400 times and Google can't find the thing I want, I go and open up my textbook and there it is.
Yeah.
It's taking
Right.
all that information you need, you're looking for, that you want, on how to mark a book and putting it in one place.
In one place.
Right, the best material.
It's
right.
literally taking content and putting it in one place where it's easy and accessible, which is why I like textbooks over journal articles.
So what we can offer as publishers is quality content. And even by saying that, I'm walking on a tightrope. Because again, if we're saying you're not allowed to dictate format to your consumers, then I'm also not allowed to dictate quality. Okay? Because if you've seen the amount of sales on self-published titles on Amazon, that's a clear indication that quality is a very objective thing. Okay? But publishers do have the ability and the knowledge to put together content in a way that makes sense for a specific experience. That is our uniqueness. So we will never compete with Red Bull in the publishing industry in terms of the type of content. We are competing for attention. Okay, so if I am a 24-year-old skateboarder, am I going to watch the videos that were created by Red Bull with Tony Hawk's skateboarding tricks? Or am I going to buy the book, the paper-based book, with images of Tony Hawk's tricks? Or am I going to buy the digital book with his autobiography and links to videos of the tricks? So you see, that's how we have to start thinking, because in that sense we are competing with Red Bull, if that's the type of content and experience you generate. Does it make sense, Mr. Lewis?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so here you can see Red Bull, BMW is a very big content brand, Disney Parks. I just want to show you what this looks like. So Red Bull, their content calendar, they summarize for their marketing team in a cute little infographic. Okay, so just look at this. Red Bull is a massive media powerhouse. Not a Red Bull produces energy drinks. We've got a secret formula. Wait. Red Bull is a massive media powerhouse that just happens to sell energy drink. That is the mission statement. So anybody who works for them doesn't work for an energy drink company, they work for a media company. As you can see from their content calendar, they publish a lot of stuff, whether it's blogs, social media messages, videos, and more. Now we'll look at this. Yes?
I was just going to say that I was lucky enough to go to the head office in Cape Town.
Yeah.
You would never, like just walking in there, I think it'll be your first impression, like what these people actually do. There's like so many parts of it. There's like a pool table, there's like a DJ deck, there's all these things that are so much other than...
And no one stuffs a Red Bull in your
hand.
hand.
Where they're like, oh, would you like an energy drink? That's what you do, you know?
You've not had the experience for having energy drink.
Exactly, yeah.
That's
So
what they do.
I'm totally, yeah.
So their blog post on redbull.com does 11 to 12 blog posts per day. That's quite high.
Yeah.
Okay? And they have guest writers for those blogs. Red Bull posts 9 to 11 times a day on their Facebook page. But think about it, this is a global brand. It's not a hell of a lot. I mean, it's not, they're not flooding their market. Yes?
Yeah, but they also have a couple dozen social media accounts.
Instagram, 7 to 8 Instagram posts per day. Post your content where your audience is most active. So, good case in point, when we did Lapa's social media strategy, they were posting a hell of a lot of stuff on Twitter. We did a full online survey with their readers that we emailed out to their database and that we distributed via Facebook that they could click on. And Twitter was the least active for their readers. But they were investing a hell of a lot of money in Twitter because they thought that's where Twitter is supposed to be. It's so great for events and all of that. Their users just don't do Twitter. Their users did Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest. They never thought about Pinterest. Because who's their market? Mommies. Mostly mommies. Some men. Okay. So it's very important to understand who your market is. Post your content where your audience is most active. And that is the responsibility of the marketing department, is to establish where is our audience most active. Don't assume you know. Ask them. Red Bull's audience of 20 to 30-year-old males is most active on Facebook and Instagram, therefore it makes sense that Red Bull would publish a larger amount of content on these channels. So they clearly did some good research, and they are able to create some sort of consumer profile to say 20 to 30-year-old males on Facebook and Instagram. Not Twitter. Twitter was too intelligent, you know what I'm saying, for their audience. I'm joking. Okay, takeaway number 2. Reuse video content on social media. Red Bull is known for their incredible video content. You might not be able to shoot the same kind of video, but if you have video content at all, repackage it for social media for maximum mileage. What type of video content can publishers generate?
Book trailers.
Book trailers, interviews with authors, events. So even doing a small video of an event.
Book promotes.
Book,
Yeah,
hey?
it's like when the author promotes the book.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of publishers, like when they come in, they take like the whole video.
Yeah. Yeah. That's quite nice to kind of have like an in-house feature. We did that for Lapa. So Lapa said, we've got such a history of being NAPA, and we want to use that as a marketing tool. So part of their social media strategy, just to show you, was to actually do, just see where it is, we did Throwback Thursdays for them, okay? Where what we did is we would take pictures. They had this library of pictures with, they were all paper-based, we had to get them all scanned in, of like staff opening the first Die Groot Verse book or whatever. And this guy doing that, and like they have staff in their warehouse that have been with LAPA for 40 years. Okay, so that supports their brand values of we've always been around. And so we used that old stuff and we regenerated it for today. So Throwback Thursdays work really well. You don't have to call it Throwback Thursdays, but that does work very well. So repackage. Red Bull tweets usually once or twice a day, but almost always with a photo or video. Less than one LinkedIn post per week. It's not their market. I wouldn't even do LinkedIn if I were them. I think the only reason they do LinkedIn is because people who work late might need the energy. That's all I can think of. I don't know why else they would do LinkedIn. Takeaway number 3, create content that looks and feels authentically like the non-branded content that your audience seeks out. Red Bull is so successful because it looks like content from a publishing house. They don't feel like they are being sold to. So they never ever market an energy drink. They publish content. So it doesn't even look like an energy drink. It looks like a publishing house. Now, we don't have that luxury. We are a publishing house. So we're going to have to look like a publishing house. Okay. So the type of content that we decide on. So to give you some ideas, we did book launches for them. And book launches had 2 elements to it. On the one hand, it was to let people know that a book launch was coming. And on the other hand, we had to publish content on social media while the book launch was taking place. Okay. And there were 2 people responsible for that. So the pre-launch event, the publisher was responsible for. During the event, the sales team was responsible for.
So for Red Bull, okay, well, for any kind of company's bottom line is to actually sell what they produce. So where is the line between recreating community and content and all this wonderful stuff to, because I was at a Shell garage last night and I was like, and I needed something to drink. And I needed an energy drink, but I didn't go for the Red Bull Powerade.
Yeah.
I can't remember. But, I mean, and I follow Red Bull and a lot of these platforms. So I'm like, why did that not translate to an actual sale?
What?
In front of a fridge?
Well, we could analyze that with some neuro-linguistic programming if you want to. Separate session, really. But something else had to give you that decision. Was it price?
It was probably milliliters.
Yeah.
I just need like.
You see.
So
So everything they do is not necessarily going to translate into sales because they are still competing in other areas as well. Remember, price, product, promotion, people, the 5 Ps.
Yeah.
So you're competing in all of those areas. So at that moment, you saw value for money, not as the experience of drinking your Red Bull or the fact that it might taste better than Powerade, but it was in fact more drink for less money. Value for money. Now, let's translate that to books. Here I am in a bookshop, and here is a new Dion Meyer, and here is another new author who I've not read yet. Dion Meyer's book is slightly thinner, but he's a well-known author, and it's 200 Rand. Here's a new author I haven't read yet, but the book is cheaper than Dion Meyer. So the consumer then decides, am I a fan of Dion Meyer, and I will buy that no matter what? Or do I buy this because I'm in the mood for something new? Great answer. Great
I mean,
answer.
with cool drinks, like, it's
But we have to kind of be. So now, what was the marketing strategy for that new author? His team.
Wouldn't you also base some of it on the actual content of the
Yes.
book. Like, for example, like, okay, you don't know, cool, but then you'd read what it's like.
That's right.
Read
Who
the blurb.
created that copy?
But sometimes you don't
The
even-
blurb
if
copy.
you're that much of a hardcore fan, you won't even read. Like, I won't even read Paul Auster. It's just,
So someone creates that blurb copy. Blurb copy in a publishing company is always approved by the marketing team because they need to know that it aligns with the market they've segmented. Okay.
Yeah.
So in that, definitely the content, but it's how you presented the content. Or you might have said, here's a new author, and you had an interview the next day with him on radio. Or you had him signing the book that evening at the bookshop. So how you package that, and here's another quote. I have to show this to you. I hope it's this one. I found all these quotes online and I thought, oh, sales and marketing is so fabulous. What you do after you create content is what truly counts. I know we're in the content industry and we're very passionate about creating content, but it's what we do after we've created that content that counts. Because people might never know about it.
Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah.
Cool.
You know? Yeah. Okay. Alright, so that was a look at Red Bull. Let's just see. So you can go there to their schedule. I don't know Reverb, but I quickly want to show you Disney as well. So Disney probably feels more like a publishing company to us because they actually do publish content. So this is Disney Parks, okay? Disney Parks is in the hospitality and service world. Needless to say, they publish a lot of content. The Disney Parks blogs is just one of several blogs, Facebook pages and more that Disney runs. So they create your content that creates FOMO. What's FOMO? Yes. So they said, what is our strategy? So if you look at this document that we did here for LAPA, right at the start we say, what is the brand voice? So their brand voice, their overarching strategy for social media is create FOMO. That's the strategy. And how do we create that? Oh, the best pictures of the parks, specials, people being there, interview with people who are going on the rides, FOMO, 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 FOMO. Great strategy. It's clearly working for them. Okay? Show them what they will experience, help them have the best time when they do business with you. So that's kind of the overarching strategies for their content calendars. Let's just see. So they do 5 blog posts per day on the Disney Park blogs. They create content that creates FOMO, so the feeling of missing out on all the fun. This move creates a sense of urgency and longing for your audience. Now, publishers could do that to a certain extent with your ardent fans of a specific author, let's say for trade. FOMO is not going to work for textbooks. No student ever feels like they're missing out on a new textbook. Show them what they will experience. Create content that shows your audience what they will get or experience. I have to show you this. And I'm sure I'm using LAPA. I follow them on Facebook. Have you seen their latest campaign? About, they're going to see my Facebook and all become my friends overnight. They have a murder mystery running on Facebook, which I thought was kind of good. Oh, 17,000. That is good. Just want to show you what that looks like. Yeah. So here is actually the end of the murder mystery already. So who did it? Let me just see. Where does it start? Yes, they've got very typical Afrikaans content. It works, it works. Romanza. So here it is. So they got 5 books. Right, let me just get to the start of this. There's one of the authors, Martin Stein. Here we go. So I'm going to just translate it into English. A week ago, a terrible murder was committed. The police have 5 suspects, have identified 5 suspects who are all per toeval. They are also crime writers. Here are the 5 suspects. Okay? So that's how they started this post. Now, I mean, it's not a lot of shares. So you got like 54 likes, 59 comments, 19 shares. The shares is good because that means that they reach an audience over and above the people who like their pages. Okay. And then what happened? Then they had all their normal posts. Then, like 2 days later, they said the investigation team has just made it known that an eyewitness has come to the fore. Okay? So this will help you. You are the readers are the actual investigators to determine who committed the murder. Kyk op een van die voorblaaie vir die geliefde simbool van die stad. So then they gave away clues, okay? And all the clues related to the covers of the book. So you had to work through all the clues to decide which crime author, committed the crime. I don't think all the posts are showing because there were many more. And 17 hours ago, who committed the crime? Rosestad Bloemfontein. That was where it happened. Jou leidraad was op Krimloop se voorblad die swart roos vir Rosestad. So they did a couple of posts. They featured 5 crime authors and they created this little mystery around it. All for new books. In basically 3 posts. I think that's brilliant. It's quite nice, eh? Alright. What time is it now? It's only 5:05. Good. Sorry, you've got me for a long time tonight. Okie dokie. Let's go back to Red Bull. Sorry. So that experience was quite good. Help them have the best time when they do business with you. It'll be great for bookshops. I wonder what exclusive books content schedule looks like. Okay, so there is a lot here. I'm not going to go. So let's look at BMW because I think they are also quite well. BMW is a luxury vehicle maker. The content marketing strategy, their designs are timeless, classic, and out of reach for many pocketbooks. But their content marketing strategy, however, is not. It's a very accessible strategy. Use your blog to show behind-the-scenes stuff about the product. How can you implement this in publishing? Show how books are made. People want to know. People think they know. Interview your publishers. Interview your staff. If you sell an expensive product, use social media to reinforce your brand, not make a direct sale. Have you ever really seen... I'm trying to think. I know Mercedes have never put the price of a car on an ad.
You mean on TV? Or TV?
No one ever puts a price of cars.
Kia does.
On
Okay, so
TV
they cheat.
and
I saw one
What they do is
advert
they
with
tell you how
Jaguar.
much
They pay per month.
Yeah.
Jaguar put a price on the other day and I was shocked. I was like, are you guys okay?
I think that's a bad strategy for them. Because if you think about a luxury product, people who are able to afford it actually just don't care about the price.
Yeah.
So why put the price on?
Yeah.
Because I think you're just going to create a bigger distance between those who can afford it and those who can't. If you're this arrogant, just know who your brand is.
Yeah.
Know who your consumers are. You know, send them the price in an SMS or something. Just don't make it publicly known. So they do that very well. Make people feel like they're part of the community. BMW is great at making the audience feel included when they buy their product. They're not just purchasing a car, they're also becoming part of a community. That they do extremely well. Yes?
Other day I saw they used a woman in their book.
I know, that's
They've
quite
never
new
done
for
it.
them.
Like, that is. I feel like everyone in that building just cringed inside.
Finally, a woman in a car ad.
No, but it was very. It wasn't as like well done as I've ever had. I don't know.
But can you imagine, I mean, I don't know about you, but car ads for some reason, car ads, Coke ads, they have the best music. They just really have.
Coke has amazing music.
we're not completely off topic, but there was this song, the new Coke song. I actually had to go and download it, and it's a song about Miriam Makeba.
By Jane.
Yeah, and it's a French singer.
French singer.
Yes.
She's not Jane.
She's French.
Jane.
Yeah.
Isn't she South African? I'm sure she's South African.
Can we play a song?
I'm just curious.
I will play the song while you're doing your group work. Okay, so they've got 7 blog posts per day. BMW USA post once or twice a day on their Facebook page. I don't think Facebook is for them because Facebook is just too middle class, to be quite honest. 3 Instagram posts per day. Use your blog to show behind the scenes stuff, so that's quite nice. People always want to know how safe a car is and they exploit that on their blogs. If your product is a pretty hefty price, use your social media to reinforce the luxury idea of the brand. So that's quite nice. Tweets 2 or 3 times a day, usually with a video or photo showcasing it. 23 LinkedIn posts per week. Who is their market? Lawyers, doctors, those people with a sharp, useless look about them. I'm not saying it's just joking. But you see how clearly they know who their audience is. They've created a consumer profile and they've said, who buys our product? People who work. Where are they?
I would.
Yeah, we're still students. So they know where their audience is. Alright. Okay, I'm going to stop there. So, what we've looked at is in a social media policy that will instruct your content calendar, just to refresh, we said you have to define your brand voice. This links to your brand values. Okay, so you have to decide what is the personality that I communicate. So just to give you an example, we differentiated between voice and tone for LAPA. So voice was the personality in one, we tried one sentence, one word, they didn't go for one word. So we said, hier kry jy goeie Afrikaanse vermaak. So they actually went with the word entertainment. They didn't go with the word books. And it was we had to fight for that because they said, but they do books. And I said, is that all you're going to do forever? And then they went back to their business plan and they said, oh no, we've got all these ideas for online platforms for this. And I said, well then don't say books because you're not going to sell just books. So they were a place for good Afrikaans entertainment, not content, entertainment. And then their tone, how would they like to communicate to their users? So then they put certain words in. Informal, clear, friendly, honest, consistent, and nemend. What is that in Afrikaans? Never mind. But you see, so there were specific personality traits that they then added to the brand. Okay. And you have to do that. Because this is how you communicate to your customers. And this is then not just for social media, because what happened after we did this? They went back and they redid their entire marketing plan and they suddenly realized, oh, we've never actually thought about how we speak to customers. And so this instructed their bigger marketing plan. So that all their communication is like this. So your brand voice, your channels, your team, who does what you'll actually be publishing, when and who is responsible for that, and then the actual content. And when I say actual content, it's not the details, it's not this book on this date, that's your content calendar. Because they can publish anything all the time, but it confuses consumers. So if consumers know kind of what to expect from you, they start looking forward to that. So we said, what are the kind of main areas of stuff, like what you want to do? Look at your business strategy, and what do we need to put on social media? So that's when we said, the book launches that have the 2 elements, before and during. A new book notice, because that's stuff they do a lot, because they get pre-orders on that, and then it helps them to increase their print run, which is quite important, which reduces price, which means they can publish more books. Then there's a new book notice, or a book notice that's not for a new book, but a current title whose sales are behind. So there's 2 types of book notices. There's 2 types of competitions, for new books and older books, front list, back list. Promotions, where it's things like Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, that's easy stuff for a content calendar. And then there was promotions to move stock. Okay, so got different types of promotions and different ways to communicate that. Valentine's Day will be one way, but if we've got 3,000 copies of a book we published a year ago and we're going to pulp them, let's do a promotion for that book and see if we can move stock. News, and news was, again, two different types of news. News that we want to communicate. For example, this author is finally 80 years old and has been with us for 30 years as an author, or news, this author has passed away. Different types of news. News we know about, news we don't know about. And then we mentioned Throwback Thursdays, and then we just listed the special days for them to focus on, because you can't focus on all of it. Okay, you can't have every World Pizza Day and every World Coffee Day, you're going to go crazy. So you have to decide which of those are important for you, which will help you move stock. So they decided on these. For example, look here, they have World Book Day, which is unique to publishing. World Literacy Day, World Read Aloud Day, because that's very important for the children's book. And then there's the Afrikaans Book Day that they always do in conjunction with the Arte Café and EB. So we narrowed it down. But you see why we have to narrow it down, because otherwise, whichever team is responsible for this are not going to know where to start and where to end. And by doing this, we created a content calendar. I'm not going to show you the populated one. A content calendar where we literally went day by day, every month. So the first week of every month, the sales team would sit with the publishers and say, this is now, let's say we're in March, what's happening in April? So the first week in March, we plan for April. So for a whole month, we shut down their social media. He said, we're going to day 0. So first of week in a month, you plan for the next month. And the publishers come into that meeting and say, I've got 3 new books. Right, let's put them into the calendar. What do we want to do with those books? But every decision that's made is made in line with the strategy that you wrote initially. And it seems like a lot of work, but it's not. It makes a hell of a difference to a publishing team and to your consumers as well, because your message is crisp, clear, and they know what you expect of you. Every now and then you can throw in something they don't expect, and it could be good or bad. Yes.
So what kind of relationship do publishers have with content creators on social media platforms? Do they have to go about maybe the whole commissioning and acquisition process? Is it like,
No. Again, it's of 2 types, because for most of the content on the social media calendar, the publishers will create the content, or the publishing house. You might get a designer in, you commission a designer to do a little design of the competition we're doing. Then on the other hand, you could get an author to contribute to your social media. So this was something we considered for a while, and then we said we're not going to do that now for LOPA, but wait a year to see how well this is doing. And a year again sounds long, but they need to get into a rhythm of doing this. Okay, and it took them a long time. So the idea of an author coming on board is to commission an author to say, we want you to be part of this. We want you to make posts on crime writing. So let's say you're a very famous crime writer. We want you to make posts, but again, the publishing house clears the posts, edits the posts, approves the posts, curates the content. Okay. How does that sound? Is everybody on the same page? Okay. So there you see, the title of the post we're going to do, when we say the author, it is not the author as the person who wrote the book, it's the author of that piece of content. So it could be someone in your social media team, you could say it's the publisher, you could say it is the publishing assistant or the sales and marketing assistant, or it could be the author. Whoever has to provide you with that piece of content. Okay. And you might, if it is a competition, you might say text from the publisher, design from the designer. So you can break that down even further. Then the actual topic, so what is it about? The title is usually the heading on social media, What is it about? So here you flesh out the details of that post. And very important, things like promotions. Are we communicating 10% discount or 15% discount? So what typically happens in companies, the sales and marketing, someone said in the hall, the promotion on Facebook today, 15% discount. And then they post, and then the MD says, it's supposed to be 10. We're selling books and not making money. So this is a document that records decisions. Okay, because it impacts social media. It impacts the sales of the company.
Can I quickly check?
Yes.
So the title isn't the title of the book that you're promoting, the title is the title of the content you're sharing.
That's right.
Okay.
If you want to, that could be the title of the book. But it's basically the title of the post. So let's say we say here, new book promotion, Dion Meyer's new book. And you put Dion Meyer in the title. Authored, I need information from the publisher, I need a cover image from the designer, etc. Then you flesh it out. New book will be released on this day, and there where it says topic, you can actually flesh out the actual content of the post as well. Okay. A lot of people play with this basic structure, but you see what I'm getting at. So your title has to relate back to your strategy. Because we said we're only going to focus on those 8 types of things we publish, because this is key to our business strategy. So the moment there's something weird in here, then we have to say, how's it working? And then we still have to measure return on investment for all this. We'll get to that. Okay. Anyway, so deadline, when do we publish it? And why is that important? Why is publish time important?
That you
When
don't,
your users are active.
Okay.
When your users are active.
Yes.
and also that you don't flood it, that you don't have to do it all at once.
So this is done per day of the week. So in here you can have different rows for the different types of media as well. So you can have Facebook and your 2 Facebook posts, Instagram and let's say your 2 Instagram posts. You might have Facebook every day of the week. You might have Instagram twice a week. Okay, that's part of the strategy. You write it into the strategy. And again, it sounds very controlled, but it is. Because you need information from people, and the only way for social media to have any return on investment is for it to align with your business strategy. Just don't willy-nilly go and publish stuff. Yeah.
So, will we get a copy of this?
I can send you a copy.
That'd be great.
Then the images that we need. So what do we need to contribute to that? And then where are we going to post it? Okay. And then here at the end is a very important little column called engagement. Okay. So what the marketing coordinator or person or social media person in the company does is at the end of April. Remember, it was first week of March. We planned for April. April has come and gone. First week of April, we've already planned for May. End of April, before the meeting in May, as a marketing coordinator, your responsibility is to go back and measure engagement.
How do you do that?
Okay, I'll show you. So, stats. Google Analytics is extremely important. So, to see so let's say, basic. What type of information gets shared a lot? What posts get liked a lot? The moment you say, new book available, pre-order here, you can actually track that link to say how many people clicked through to your e-commerce site. And then translate it into sales. Now this refers back to big data. You have to collect that bits of information. So you can track engagement with stats, and you can also track if it actually has an impact on sales.
So in this section of the chart, what will we place for engagement?
Start with shares, start with likes, and look at links through to e-commerce sites. That's probably the easiest. Okay. Right. Now, do you want to have a go at this in class? I didn't work it into your assignment because I thought it's a hell of a lot of detail, but you all look dead tired to me. I talked so much, I'm sorry. Okay, let's finish there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hand out the assignment. I think let's do that. And you're going to choose your company. Then I want you to please not read this now in class. Go home, have wine, sleep on it.
Oh wow.
Read it in the morning, and you come back to class next week Monday with all your questions. Okay? Because otherwise you're going to get overwhelmed by it now,
Oh, wow.
and people are going to ask questions that you don't know how to even write down.
And miss the important ones.
Yes. Okay. Okay, is everyone happy with tonight's class?
Yes.
I know it's a lot of detail, but this is vital. This is vital. I really believe in the power of social media, but there's no point in doing it haphazardly. It's another business tool. You have to manage it as such.
Please internalize your pain.
All that we do in the lecture categories, so you have to give them the size and the images. Because each channel has a specific designs. You have to say what content you want on there. You have to tell them where to find the image to produce. Yeah. PowerPoint's actually good because then you can even link it here as a separate sheet. So say design and briefs A, and then you can have it in lines exactly how you brief it. So the more you link in this document, the better. If you're able to do this sheets and link to documents, the better. Okay, so there are your assignments.
I'm going to have a breakdown in the car.
Yeah. We need to just quick like offside.
That thing was insane. It was actually.
Okay.
You've given us hard conversations. I hope you're aware.
Why?
There's a lot of numbers.
Yeah.
It's a
Yes.
lot of ABC.
Lots of
And
Points.
points, sub-points.
You know what? I could have not given you the
No, we're glad
points.
you did.
Yeah, I'm glad you did.
It helps.
So I thought I'd structure it clearly so that you know exactly what needs to be addressed.
Just more direction from the whole year.
Okay?
Wait, what?
It's due on the 8th.
8th of November. So that's a whole month. Ne? I do say there, you are required to print and bind your assignments and drop off at the office of Mrs. Mulgard. Then Colleen said she has a selection of folders for binding that are free to anyone who comes past her office. So she's just mentioned it there. On the 8th of November at around 1 o'clock, I'm driving through from Pretoria to pick it up. I beg you, please be on time.
So submit before one.
So bring
Submit before. Definitely. Yeah, so it says there 12, but I'll be here in the afternoon. If it's not in by 12, 1 at the latest,
I'll be here at 12:30. That's my lunch
that's
hours.
it. Then I'm afraid you get 0.
Oh. Well, that's good.
Alright, so yeah, I'm not going to read it now. Breathe. Okay, so who's going to go first? Shall we just start at a side? Are you guys okay with it?
Yeah.
Let's give our friend from the States first option. Pick a little piece of paper. And before you leave, I want to write down who chose what. Is it just one? Yes. I'm just going to hand them out, because I don't know who it is.
Okay. Well, I think yeah, I think
Oh, wow.
it takes us.
Internalize.
No! That's so rude.
Say, you can say.
Chicana media.
They like to trade amongst ourselves.
A source.
Really was good.
That's so weird.
Yeah, lava. Yeah, so you got
Really cool.
That's cool. I got you.
You coming?
Yeah.
Really, you work here.
Hey, wait, that's mine. No, they went to the bookstore. I work in the office. It's an
If you get like penguin, we're swapping.
Who is this?
Now, that one I've never heard of.
I know your work is already done. Like,
Okay. Does everyone have a time a piece of paper?
DK Publishing.
Never heard of them.
what was this?
Okay.
Oh, media.
can't you just set up the register and we'll write our names next to it?
Of course, the register. I forgot about the register. Thank you.
Anytime.
I always forget that.
So can you just write it on the back?
Yeah, it's fine.
Or I can,
Do you want to keep it? Is it like
Okay,
so guys, sorry, guys, on the register, next to your name, please write the company that I've given you.
You know what it is, save it back.
Oh no, she says she wants to keep it as a memento of the day your heart
I have to go
stopped.
do
Wait, no, I think Nicole needs one.
So here's Nicole's and Vivian.
what did they get?
That's Nicole.
You have to
That
tell
side's
us.
Nicole. Let's see what
Okay,
Nicole's getting.
Let's read out Nicole first.
Yeah.
And then
Does she not mind if you choose for her?
No, she asked us.
I
Yeah.
think she probably just wants to have it.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
Nicole. Will you write down Nicole's?
I will.
Thank
As
you.
horrible as it is, she just wants it.
Don't switch out with her, I know.
It's
when
really
you
written
choose.
my name.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good one.
What did she get?
Ah.
Which one?
Oh. You had to give me knowledge.
That's it. You got to trade that.
What do you have? Half of that? Shannon, shoot, which ones do you have?
You need
Oh,
some.
you can press that through.
Can you send me all of this?
Okay, so Nicole has.
Jonathan Ball.
So Vivian has. Vivian has penguin.
How do I acknowledge this?
Vivian, you have penguin.
Sorry about yours. I'm gonna have to brush up on some Afrikaans.
I'm like, Mark wants to use it, so this is going to be really fun.
Rode,
Yes.
have you spoken to these guys?
Have I spoken to them?
We don't have to actually speak to them.
No.
I'm gonna have to.
Read
Try to figure
through
it
the
out.
assignment and next week. And you will see, I actually want you to engage with them at all.
Oh, you want us to engage
It
with
will
them?
just take time.
Oh, okay.
So we have to try to get as much information from their websites and from the
At least everything
Council
I tell her is gonna be
Association
new.
and articles and stuff. I'm sure you'll be able to get all of it. If it's not, see if you can engage with them. If you want, you can copy me in as a kind of a whatever.
And you want these back?
Nice. Just make sure I have your names on the register with the company you've selected.
Oh, okay.
And then that is it for
You're
today.
drinking like a
At
smoothie.
least everything I tell you is gonna be new.
Okay.
At least everything I tell you is gonna be new.
Yeah.
But seriously, can you send me that?
Seriously, no.
But why? It's knowledge.
You already have a advantage because I dealt with it.
Just this template.
Yes, I'm sending you the template. I'm sending you a template. It's actually a template that we originally got from Hootsuite. Almost at HubSpot. So Hootsuite has very nice templates. There are lovely templates online for calendars. The nice thing is you don't do